Hey, everybody, welcome back to Strong Witness. As always, we do it. Well, that's not true. We do it on Tuesdays at 6, right? But last week I took a little break. And what I did was I posted, um, in case you missed it, you can always go back and watch it. I posted the podcast where I shared the fullness of my story of why I even started Strong Witness. But last week I took a little break. I needed a break, and I was kind of, I'm happy. We went from April until October, every Tuesday sharing stories, and I think every story is powerful. Every story has meaning, just like tonight. So took a little break for myself. Got a Strong Witness shirt on, and I should have posted my friend. I may put it on here. She has her Strong Witness shirt on. I want you all to have your Strong Witness shirts on, but you got to order those. So so it's LCS counseling that we're on right now. I want you guys to like. I want you guys to um, share this video. We know that October, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but it's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so we want to be, I have a guest. I reached out to her. I got connected with her through a mutual friend. And I'm so glad that I did because I heard a little bit of her story that she shared with me, but it's a powerful story of being a survivor of domestic violence. One of the things that I'm most amazed about is that when she was in um, the shelter, domestic violence shelter, right? She started her own business. Now, starting a business is hard, period. But then to be in that space, and I want her to come up and talk about it, right? When she does, the emotional space that she was in and what's going on, the fullness of her story, I'm ready to hear. But just to know that, okay, I'm here in this space emotionally, physically, but I'm going to start a business going to help other people, and part of the proceeds of the business goes back to helping survivors. So I think that's powerful. Here's a shot of her cosmetic brand, which I think is dope. And so I want her to tell more about her cosmetic brand. And if you're on here, and I want you to, hopefully we'll get all the links together so you can go and purchase, and knowing that what you spend is going back to help somebody else. Also, she started a nonprofit called Battle Buddies, which is also to help women who have been traumatized, who have been hurt, to also help to bring them out. Again, strong witness, right? We through community, we share our stories for healing, for growth, and she has this nonprofit to help other women, again, pull them out of situations that she has been in. And lastly, before I bring her up, I know you're like, she's dope already, because she is also an author. So this is her book, You Good Sis. So she was just telling me that she was on she lives in Houston, drove up to Dallas, was on the show, went back to Houston. So I think this is dope. I want her to tell us more about her book as well, where we can find it, the website, all that good stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Miss Monet up, and I want her to share a little bit. Monet, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. And I'm just, I'm like raving about it. I know people are like, well, bring her up already. So I'm like, but I do want again, I think I know Nicole connected us, and I'm really excited and happy that she did that. And I really want to hear the fullness of your story. So like I say, I tell everybody, listen, I'm gonna move out the way, and I'm gonna let you flow. But I thank you again for even. I know you're busy, right? I know you on this book tour and this launch, but I want you to tell about that. But I want you to tell people about the fullness of your story and domestic violence. Um, from what you experienced, how it could be hidden. But I'm just going to move out the way and let you flow as you want. And then at the end, we'll probably have some questions. And like I said, I asked people to share it from the Facebook page, and also share it for those that are watching on YouTube as well.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna move out the way, but I'm here if you need me. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Uh,
Thank you so much for having me. Hey, y'all, you good, sis? That is now my new phrase that I open up with because that is the name of my book. And so I am just so passionate about being able to reach out and check on those who are possibly suffering in silence. So I want to lead with that for you to be able to ask yourself, to be know today may have been heavy. I know today we may have been processing some things. We may have got some bad news, dealing with grief. There's a lot of things that could be going on in our heads right now. But making sure that we are aware of those things first and then able to release them before we carry them over into the next day, especially if there's nothing that we can do about them. So, are you good, sis? How is your mental health today? what can we do, if anything, to be able to encourage you and empower you? Who can you surround yourself around that can help you get to the next place? So, hi, I am Monet, as she said and introduced me. Thank you so much, Toya, for that amazing introduction. I am just so honored to be here. Every time I'm even given the opportunity or asked the opportunity to speak and share my story, I'm honored because I didn't really recognize at first that I had a story. I didn't recognize that there was anything that anybody wanted to hear because I felt like I was just so beaten down after going through child abuse and domestic violence and not understanding my worth. And so I operated in that and I self sabotaged a lot. Even when I saw things coming my way and I knew God was telling me that this is what's going to happen, you deserve these things, different things are going to be blessings to you, you're going to minister to these type of people. I just didn't really fully walk in it. I really didn't understand it fully, how I could deserve something, because I just didn't have the correct mental space to understand it. And so I remember going through domestic violence and going through childhood trauma and feeling like I was alone. So you good sis literally derives from that, being able to ask your strong friend who may be always the encouraging one, who's always checking on you. And when you ask her, she's like, "Oh no, sis, I'm okay." It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and so it's important for us to not only say Domestic Violence Awareness Month as a hashtag or a quote or let's break the cycle, but let's actually do some things that can maybe just plant a seed for that person that says, "Oh, okay, well, she at least knows that I'm here for her, that I'm here to support her, that I'm here to encourage her." Domestic violence is tricky when it comes to being able to know exactly how to help a person, exactly how to be there for them, what not to say, what not to do, without putting their safety at risk. So just extending that question, just saying, "Hey, I'm here for you if you need me. I'm here for as far as a text message, whatever that may look like." And so making sure that we are actually implementing things that can actually help break the cycle in Domestic Violence Awareness Month, not just then, but every day. More than statistics show that 1 in 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, wherever you are sitting, think about that. 1 in 4 women have experienced or will experience domestic violence. And so somebody that you know is experiencing currently, about to leave a domestic violence relationship, or has been in one. And so either way, that sister understands, that sister may be able to support you, but then at the same time, that sister may be the sister that needs you to ask them, are they okay? And so I want to be able to talk about that today, trying to step outside of ourselves and ask, is our community good? And if not, then what can I do? Even if it means that, okay, in Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I'm going to serve a few plates. I'm going to give some moms some clothes. I understood that in a different way when I was on the receiving end. I always saw the hashtag Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but I never really understood it until I started receiving it. And so I had to be able to get to a place where I stepped outside of myself and reminded myself that we don't go through things for ourselves. God allows us to go through things so that we can be a witness and a testimony to other people. We overcome by the word of our testimony, which means we have to get to a place where we can start to speak and share what we're going through. I started to go through therapy and go have life coaching and all of the things. Just wanted to make sure that I was not bleeding on other people when I shared my story, that I wasn't speaking from a hurt place, but that I was speaking from a healed place, and a healed place, but also relatable. And so I always say that vulnerability is my superpower. Let it be yours. Let being vulnerable and being transparent literally change your life. Because when we hold things in and we harbor things and we say, "Oh, what about this?" Or, "I don't know what this person is going to think," or, "What about this relationship?" Or, how is my family going to feel about it?" You have to be able to embrace what you've been through and understand your purpose and your calling. And I didn't understand that at first. And so when I started my cosmetics line in 2016, I walked into a domestic violence shelter and I was terrified. When I first, let me go back. The Lord had been telling me to move to Dallas. And if you know Houston and Dallas, we rivalry cities. Okay, we like y'all, but we don't really like y'all. We from Houston. We from Houston. We're not going to Dallas. So it was the fun joke in that. But then it was also I consulted him and asked him, what the Lord is telling me to move to Dallas. I'm not going to Dallas. Well, I'm not either. Okay, and so that was the first time that I ignored the voice of God telling me to move to Dallas. And then 3 years consecutively, I drove to Dallas back and forth because I always opened up my New Year's at the Potter's House of Dallas. Never failed. I had to open it up. It was a tradition that I did. And so when I started my journey, I just started to remember those things that potentially could have helped me get out of the relationship sooner. But because of my disobedience, I was stayed in it a little longer, and I suffered more than what I shouldn't have. Obedience is better than the sacrifice. And so I remember going through the domestic violence relationship and going back and forth. And every time I would go, hearing God say, move to Dallas, move to Dallas. And it was like, okay. The very last time I remember I tried to commit suicide. And I'm sorry, this is a trigger warning for anyone. I want to make sure that you are taking these moments to separate yourself from, if you need to pause the broadcast, it's live, it's recorded. Okay. So take a moment just in case you are triggered by anything that I may say. I always try to say that because we just never know what another person may be dealing with. And so we're talking about the domestic violence. I'll talk about suicide. I'll talk about other things that I kind of dealt with, but those two things are triggering. And so when I was literally, that was almost the thing that made me leave. It was God asking me, what are you going to, or how long are you going to be disobedient and stay in this situation? And so I literally right after that was like, okay, Lord, I'm moving to Dallas. And I was terrified. And my family, we did this whole big going away party and celebration. And my family was like, yay, she's being obedient. And had no clue that I was leaving a domestic violence relationship, had no clue how bad it had gotten. And so when I began to get on this journey, I had to start digging deep and understanding, God, what is it that you have for me? Because yes, I was obedient. Yes, I left the relationship, but there's got to be something deeper. There's a reason for this. And so when we got into the shelter finally, I heard the Lord say to go ahead and start your company, because I always wanted to do a lipstick line. I always wanted to empower women. I've always been the makeup girl. My mom, I don't know if y'all have ever had the lipstick. Now this is my BR lipstick, lip gloss. But I don't know if y'all have ever had the lip gloss where it scrolls up with the red and you put it all over your lips, like all over your lips. My lips was always been big. And so I would always put a lot of gloss on my lips because I just embraced my lips. Until one day I went to middle school. I was in middle school, and I had a crush on this guy, and he talked about my lips so horribly. Her lips are just too big, and just all the derogatory names that you can think, that you could possibly imagine, he said. And it crushed my heart, it crushed my spirit, and it had a lasting effect on my self-esteem, because I felt like, oh, he was really, really cute. If he doesn't like me, then maybe it is something wrong with me. And then I began to see other things that I didn't really recognize or were affecting my low self-esteem. One of the things also, while dealing with verbal child abuse as a child, that played effect in it, and it played a role in it, and they kind of went hand in hand. And so I didn't like myself. I didn't understand my worth. I didn't understand who I was as a person. I didn't understand the beauty that I possessed. Even though hearing people say she's so pretty, okay, especially from my family and friends, like, y'all supposed to say that. You're my friend. You're supposed to encourage me. And so being empowered and encouraged by a Paige Parks modeling agency that I went to when I was in high school wanting to do modeling. And she explained to me the benefits and how people pay thousands of dollars to get lips my size, and just really encouraging me. She really made a difference in my life, because it was, okay, well, you don't really have any hidden agendas to tell me of this. You don't really have any reasons to think or to tell me that I'm beautiful. You kind of do, because you benefit from it. But I understood her heart, and I saw her heart in it. And so I saw different moments in my life where God had positioned different people to plant seeds and to show me that this was a part of my purpose. And so I began to start to learn that side of her and begin to embrace this side of Monet. Like, who is this Monet? And so when I was going through the shelter, shortly after being in the shelter, I just so happened to be talking to a reporter and had no idea that she was a reporter. I was invited to a sponsorship event by the shelter, and they saw that I had started my cosmetics line, and it was a great networking event. And I just began to talk, and we literally hit it off. And my story aired on the news, and it went viral, and everything was huge. And I was just like, okay, God, what is this? Like, this, surely, I'm not ready for this. I'm still healing. I'm still in a place where I have to figure out what is going on. I had just started therapy. My children had just started therapy, and we are still in therapy, by the way. I had to make sure that I felt like I was in a place where I was undeserving. Who wants to hear my story? Domestic violence is everywhere. Why my story? What is so important about my story? And so I began to just kind of sit in the storyline of what people thought of me, what people processed or got from the story after hearing what she had said. Now, yes, it was true. Everything she said was true, but as if this person that was on the news. And really, I was still healing. I was still going through the process of healing from this traumatic experience. And so I began to get in counseling and go in counseling a little deeper to understand my work and start to unpack some of the things that I had been dealing with, even as a child. When I was going through the mental health hospital, I went to not the mental health hospital. While I was in the mental health hospital, after trying to commit suicide before leaving my abusive relationship, the psychiatrist diagnosed me and said that I was severely depressed and angry. She believed, well, the anger stemmed from it, but she believed that I was also had a little bit of bipolar, and it stemmed from being abused as a child. And so depression followed me all throughout my life. And so it was easy for me to just fall back into those things. It was easy for me to just, oh yes, this. So I'm what's comfortable. I began to dig to do this, and you told me to walk into my purpose. You told me to embrace all the things that you've given us, and you said that we overcome by the word of our testimony. So I'm just going to start speaking my story, and I'm going to start journaling and writing out my story. And so my very first time writing my book was in the Harris County Jail. Harris County Jail is here in Houston, Texas, and I hate the place. Okay, I hate the way it smells. I hate everything about it. Let me rephrase that. I used to. I would love to walk in there now and be able to minister to the women there because I was her. I had been there several times. And my very last time going, I spent 60 days in jail for stealing. I was the girl that would go in Walmart and steal clothes or whatever my children needed because I was really struggling with providing for my three daughters by myself. Even especially while in a domestic violence relationship, I continued to go back and forth to Walmart and get things that they needed. Well, if I only had $100 for this and we needed clothes and the light bill paid, I had to figure out a way to make it work. On top of the fact, I began to dig while going through counseling and digging deep, understanding that the impulsivity that I experienced, or the impulsivity that I operated in every area of my life. We're not just talking about stealing, but sexually, financially, um, eating, anything that satisfied me impulsively, that's what I did. And if it was a craving, no matter what it was, I satisfied it. And so that intrigued me, because I wanted to know, what is the relationship between impulsivity and trauma? No, I'm not saying that me being impulsive or me being abusive caused me to be impulsive, and that's why I stole, because I made the decision to go in Walmart and steal. I still made the choice to do that. However, we have to be able to understand the root cause of things in order for us to change them. A lot of the times we say, well, why does she just don't stop? Why does she keep doing that? Well, what has she been through? What has she experienced? And has she healed from it? Or is she still operating out of a hurt place? Is she operating from that 7-year-old little girl? Is she operating from that 6-year-old abused child? Is she operating from a teenage place where she may not know exactly what to do to get in therapy because this is what you need? So I wanted to be that girl. I wanted to be the girl that, goes and talks about me being or having a problem with stealing. Because I know there's other moms out there that have done it, that are doing it tonight, that did it last night, that may do it tomorrow. So I wanted to be able to share my truth, because at first Monet was the one that was like, oh no, I cannot, let me find this mugshot so that nobody else can ever know this part of my story. When I started writing this book and the Lord told me to write it, and I was like, oh, we're not putting that in there. No, we're not putting that in there. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to put it back down, because we're not going to do this. And so I literally started to process it, and God said, so you're going to choose which parts of your story that you choose to tell, which means you're going to leave out some people that need to benefit from that particular part of your story. And so I cried and I went through the things, and I had my mental health days, and I processed them, and I talked with my therapist, and I talked with my coach, and we started to get to put my story together. And as I was putting my story together, I even saw how, even while being in the shelter, I was helping other women. I was empowering other women. My story and my testimony, I still have people that I'm connected to on my Facebook page right now that I was in jail with. And so to be able to see the transformation and be able to see, for them to be able to see the transformation and me talk about, hey, y'all, I'm writing a book. And some of the women in there will be like, come on, Mo. Or, well, they call me Pretty in jail. Come on, Pretty, did you write today? Like, are you writing today? I had encouragement even while being in the jail. And so when I was writing my book, I had to even go back to that moment that God had even still placed people in my life. God had strategically put people around me that I was able to reach out to, or that were even able to reach out to me and say, you good, sis? Do you need anything? Write that book, because there were some moments where I was like, I can't do this today, y'all. I miss my babies. Christmas is coming. Like, New Year's is here. My daughter's 5th birthday. Like, I can't do this. And so those moments are really hard for me. And so even being in a jail cell and having the encouragement and having the support and seeing people that are on my Facebook page that are commenting on my posts, knowing exactly that I was sitting in a jail cell with them, reminds me that this is why God allowed me to do what I'm doing. And that is my why. That is why I continue to go. That's why I continue to share. And I say vulnerability is my superpower, because you just never know how much you telling your story and you being truthful and you being honest and speaking from a healed place. I keep saying that. Speaking from a healed place, because we don't bleed on other people. We don't go and maybe we need to. Let me go back. Journaling might be the first option before putting it in a book. Counseling and unpacking those feelings may be the route before actually putting it in a book. I believe a lot of the times when we are sometimes writing or when we're expressing our feelings, we just go out and say what we're feeling, and they're raw emotions and they haven't been processed and you haven't forgiven, and you haven't gotten to that place where you can speak from a healed place. I'm able to speak from that place. I'm able to even say that I was a victim of child abuse with my mother, and me and my mother have a relationship where we can talk about that. And we talk about the healing that comes with it. I can talk about the fact that I had to forgive my abuser. And we've had several conversations after the abuse. There is a way that you can handle things, a way that you can tell your story and still speak from the correct place without having to feel the guilt and the shame that is sometimes attached to it. Because sometimes when we allow the guilt and the shame to attach itself to it, and when we allow ourselves to go through that shame and sit in that uncomfortable place, we sometimes will sit ourselves back instead of sitting in that comfortable place and then moving forward and allowing it to propel us forward. And so even I said it in the book, y'all, look, she is a beauty. Okay. I'm looking at her like I have a whole book. Like when it came, I'm like I can't even process the fact that I have a book. If you look at it, it's pain power. And so I wrote that specifically because I was in a whole lot of pain. I was just so tired of being abused. I was tired of being talked about. I was tired of being feeling unworthy and feeling uncomfortable and I was tired of struggling at the same time. Okay. I wanted to be able to have the life that everybody else had. I wanted to have the perfect life. That's not what God had for me though. And I'm walking in that. I'm walking in the fact that every single time that something happens in my life, whether I even with each opportunity to speak, with each opportunity to share my story, God, is this what you want me to do? Is this the story? Is this the place you want me to walk in? I pray for divine intervention all the time. Because I don't want to be in any place where God has not or already set the way for me. Close every single door that I'm not supposed to walk in and open the other ones wide open that I am. But making sure that you are submissive to the will of God for your life in the regards of telling your story, in the regards of how do I help this woman? How do I need to not share my story to her right now? Do I need to wait story or help that I can still be relatable? So I think that's the key, is making sure that you have been in that place where you can be vulnerable, be transparent, but not bleeding. And so that is one of my things I kind of wanted to talk about too, is the mental health check-in and doing that. And I have that is in chapter 7 of the book. We have to be able to do a mental health check-in on ourselves every single day. We go through everything all the time, literally. Just think about that. Every single thing that you could possibly think of that we go through, um, or even statistically, I'll go there. Statistically, we have the exact same thoughts. 60 to 70% of our thoughts we thought yesterday. So, sis, what are your thoughts? Are your thoughts positive? Are they negative? Are they hurtful? Are they angry? Are you depressed? And did you go to bed that way? Because if you did, then that's how you'll wake up. It won't just disappear when you go to sleep. We have to be able to get to a place where we are intentional about checking on ourselves. We have to be intentional about sharing how we're actually feeling with the right people. Some people may not be able to help you out and help you get to the place where you need to be. But making sure that you're surrounding yourself around people that you can lean on and say, who's this? No, I'm not good today. No, I'm not in a good mental space today. No, I need a break. I need a self-care day, or I need a mental health day. While writing this book, I had plenty of those. Plenty. And I thank God for my children who were able to even understand that. Mommy's crying. Mommy's sad. Mommy's in her room because I need to just sit in what I'm getting ready to say. I need to sit in what I'm writing. I need to process what I'm writing. And I need to make sure that I am fully healed, that I'm healing continuously. Let me say that. Because healing is a journey. I'm not going to ever be completely healed. There are certain things that may trigger me, that may come up. but I don't have to speak from that place of anger. When we begin to go through inner healing, we heal those past memories, and the pains of those memories are gone. The memories are still there. And so you're able to still think about those memories, but you're not operating in the same place that you used to operate in. And so the daily mental health check-in helps you to recognize those things. So I'm going to read a few of them. Not that I have to, y'all, because I don't. But I just want y'all to see the book so I can feel like I'm actually reading the book. Like, okay, so y'all get into this book, okay? So I started from number 5, but let me go back to the first thing that you do is to prioritize your self-care. What does that look like for you? I am a mom of 4 daughters, and so making sure that I am who are play football, sport, volleyball, and softball, and then I have a 2-year-old. And so speaking engagements, domestic violence events, my cosmetics line, all the things. It gets crazy around him. Okay, around him. It gets a little crazy. Excuse me. So I have to prioritize self-care. And especially as moms, we don't do that. We put that on the back burner. Oh, yeah, I get to it. No, I get to it. Were you intentional about your thoughts today? Were you intentional about saying, okay, I got 30 minutes before I have to go pick up these children from school, from daycare, from whoever? I'm going to sit up here and I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to turn my phone off. I'm going to cut my worship music on. I'm going to get my mind prepared. I'm going to release those things. I'm going to go out for a walk in the park. I'm going to go have a cupcake. But whatever that looks like for you, but being intentional about your self-care. I put it in my calendar in my phone and it alerts me. Alexa alerts me. Take some time for yourself right now. And I listen to her because we can't set alarms and let the notifications go and just move them up. But that's a whole nother conversation, okay? Listen to the notifications if you're going to do the notifications, okay? And so the next thing is to choose a specific time. There's 5 tips. So choose a specific time throughout your day to rest. Hi, I am Monet, and I am a napaholic. Because I will go and take a nap. That is what restores me. Rest is also restoration. What can refill your cup? For me, I notice that there are some things that sometimes when I get overwhelmed, I go take a nap, and then I'm able to get up and process them better. Not that they disappear, but I'm able to get up and process, okay, you were a little anxious. You were going through all of this. Let's go take a nap. Let's also do some other things. I drink my tea, okay, in my You Good Sis mug. And I make sure that I am intentional about how I restore myself. Because we hear that saying all the time, we cannot give from an empty cup. You can, but what are you going to be producing? Is your cup empty, or is it filled with negativity? Is it filled with burnout? Is it filled with anger? Is it filled with unforgiveness? What is your cup filled with? You can continue to give. You can try your best to continue to give, but eventually it's going to start eating at you, and it'll create a burnout in you that you will not, that it's harder for you to come back from. And so making sure that you are restoring yourself, especially when you're having to operate in the mom in the role of being a mom, a business owner, anything like that. You're just making sure that you put yourself first, and no matter how long that is, be specific and intentional about it. The third one is forgiving and forget yesterday's troubles and embrace today. And then we kind of already touched on this, but that is basically making sure that you're intentional about your thoughts. What are you thinking? Did I think about this yesterday? Okay, I had the same problem yesterday. So the question is, can I do anything about it? If you can, great, do something about it and don't worry about it. If you cannot, then don't worry about it because you can't do anything about it. And sometimes, a lot of the times, that's the scenario. I can't do anything about it, but you're going to keep worrying about it. And my Bible says, I don't know about what y'all Bible says, but my Bible says to be anxious for no thing, not one thing. Don't be anxious, which means why worry about something that you cannot control or you cannot fix? Give it to God, literally release those things, and then you're able to embrace the next day and say, okay, I can't do nothing about that, but I can do something about this, and I can be intentional about my thoughts. I can be intentional about my day, and I can change the entire trajectory of my day. So the fourth one is repeating positive affirmations and scriptures daily to yourself in the mirror. Not just, y'all see my affirmations on this wall right here? This way. I can't point. The affirmations on this wall, those are just a few. But I normally use my BLR Cosmetics lipsticks, and I write on my mirror. A lot of, especially while I was pregnant with my last daughter, I wrote on my mirror positive affirmations all the time. And I wrote them and said them and repeated them to myself in the mirror every day. Not just, oh, let me just hear my positive affirmations. I'm on my way to do what I got to do. Let me hurry up. Let me get this going. Be intentional about pouring into yourself. Be intentional about giving to yourself. We're intentional about pouring into everybody else. We're intentional about making sure that we are having to people please. We people please at all costs. We make sure that the other person is good. But when it comes to us, it's like, no, I'll be all right. Are you? And how? How are you going to be okay? Because eventually we just keep saying that. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. But how are you going to be okay if you're not intentional about making sure that you're okay? So the fifth one is, oh, and let me go back and say this too. Using I am statements, saying, hey sis, saying, I am powerful today. I am in control of my day. I am letting go of all things that no longer serves me. My goal is possible. I am capable of learning new ways of thinking. I am capable of learning new things. My ideas are important to me. I am in control of my life. Saying those things, because when you say I am, you're already speaking it. It's already happening. And when you're saying it to yourself, you're reminding yourself that you already got the power and the strength already in you. You just need to pull it out a little bit. You just need to release the negative thoughts and replace them with positive thoughts, but by saying them to yourself every day and being intentional about it. And so the fifth one is, like we already said, is your sis good? Is your sister, is your coworker, is your family member, is your best friend, are they good? Are you checking on people that are around you that could potentially be suffering in silence? Suffering out loud, not just silence. Are we being intentional about creating community? Are we intentional about making sure that we are empowering sisterhood and giving to people who really, really need it? That's how you check on yourself too. Because when we have people around us that are consistently moving and empowering and encouraging us, and we are also doing the same, I'm so empowered every time I'm able to talk with somebody else about what they're going through. I do a mental health check-in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 Central Standard Time on Clubhouse. And it literally gives people the idea when they read the room title. I've heard a lot of people come in and say, I read the title, you good, sis? Mental health check-in. That's exactly what it is. Because it makes you ask yourself, am I good? And if I'm not, let me get a little bit of encouragement. Now, y'all, this is what I'm dealing with. And so when we're on Clubhouse, I literally create this safe environment, this safe space. We started it in February. It has been phenomenal. It has been life-changing. It has been very transforming for a lot of women. But I understand how much we need each other, how much we need support. And no matter, even the ones that's like, no, I'm good, I don't need nobody. Yes, you do. You just need to write somebody. You need to write somebody that cares. You need the right somebody that's there to encourage and empower you. You need the right person that is there to uplift you and hold you accountable, because we got to add that part too. We don't need no people that's just around us that's just going to say yes to us. We need some people that's going to hold us accountable. We need some people that's going to also forgive us and understand where we are and meet us where we are and love us through our traumas, love us through our situations. And if you got some people like that that are around you, hold them tight. If you got some people around you that's not like that, let them go quickly. Because it doesn't do you any good to hold on to them. Family, friends, cousin, brother, sister, uncle, auntie, whoever it is. If they do not serve you, if they do not bring value to your life, value to your relationship, if they are not bringing positivity in your life, and when I say cut them off, I don't just mean I'm not talking to you no more, but blah, blah, blah. I mean having a conversation. I'm implementing a boundary. You crossed it. We can no longer be in each other's space. I'm going to speak to you. We can be cordial and everything can be great. But I cannot allow you into this space anymore because of what you have violated within my space. We have to be intentional about saying that and saying it with boldness because it's okay, especially if it affects your mental health. If it is affecting your mental space come first. And then the last thing that I will say, especially because this is so important, especially with Latoya's business that she has, she's a therapist. We don't want to talk about therapists and Jesus going together. The Lord put therapists here for a reason. We got to stop telling people. We got to stop telling Christians, just pray about it. The Lord going to see you through. We have to, just like we tell him to go, tell them We got to go to the gynecologist. We go to the OBGYN to deliver the babies. Even the doulas. We get outside expert opinion on everything except our mental space. Come on, y'all. Something wrong with that. Jesus and therapy, that's gonna be my next shirt, go together. They have to. You have to use. That's why on my affirmations it says making sure that you are using affirmations and scriptures hand in hand. Scriptures are powerful. They gonna work, but those I am statements work too. We can't just separate them. Oh, well, this just works and this one don't work. The power of God is real, and He is able to do abundantly above all we can ever ask or think. But He also gives us resources to use. That's like saying, I'm gonna pray that, Lord, I got a headache. Can you come take this away? We'll take some medicine, baby. It's some medicine in there. That's what I put it down here for. And we'll go to the doctor. We'll go to the dentist. We got a bad enough toothache. You going to the dentist. You start bleeding too much on your arms or whatever, not feeling. You going to the emergency room. What does it take for you to get to a therapist? Why do you keep putting things off before you actually get to a therapist? They ain't that expensive, y'all. What you spending your money on that you can't afford a therapist, but you can afford. That's a whole nother conversation. Okay, I can go on. Toya. Come on, stop me. Okay, sis. But seriously, going to therapy has to be mandatory. It has to be something that you are intentional about. I have a therapist, and I had 4 coaches around me when I wrote this book. A speaking coach, my mindset purpose coach, my business coach who helped me with BLR, and my book coach. Each one of them played a different role in my life. My therapist, of course, goes a little bit deeper. Okay. But each one of them played a different role in my life to help me get to the place where I am. And continue to help me grow to the next place. We got to pull on what God has put here for us and not just pray and ask Him to do it. And then when He shows us, it's like, not that. I don't want that. That's not what I meant, Lord. Give me the real thing. And He's like, here's a therapist. Go to counseling. Talk about it. No, I don't want to talk about it because what goes on in this house stays in this house. Well, you ain't in that house no more. Come out that house. Create your own new normal. Break these generational curses. Break these stigmas that we've lived under for years that we can't talk about what we're going through. That mental health is a bad thing. Mental health is real. I was there. I was in a mental health hospital getting ready, tried to commit suicide. I was in a mental health hospital for trying to commit suicide. My best friend and my abuser literally wrestling with me, trying to get me from taking the rest of the bottle of pills because I was so emotionally gone. One of my best friends will tell you, looking at my eyes, the one that actually caught me, that found us, found me. When you look at my eyes, it was lifeless. I didn't even seem like myself. She's right. That wasn't me. That I wasn't operating in who God had called me to be. I wasn't being who God fully called me to be. And now I want to empower you. blacktherapist.com, browngirlstherapy.com. There's a lot of different options. Google them. You got to be intentional about caring about you. You have to be intentional about putting you first at all costs. Being selfish is a good thing sometimes. I had to learn that. And I also had to learn how not to let other people make me feel bad for prioritizing myself. Well, dang, who else should come before me? Somebody else should come before me too? I always have to be at the end? Always? No. So I hope that blessed somebody. I hope that convicted some people. I hope that it also comforted you. And even help you to get to a place where you understand that it's okay. Yes, we must be intentional about caring about ourselves and doing it and unapologetically. Monet is a mom of 3 girls, but I also take my time or take intentional time about going on a vacation without my babies and intentional time with my babies. My 31st birthday, I went to Mexico by myself. Just me. Just me. Nobody. Just me. I began to start loving on me, embracing me, and embracing the newness of me. But unfortunately, that comes with being uncomfortable. Getting comfortable, I have gotten comfortable with being uncomfortable. I expect it now. And I'll say this last thing and then I'll be done. On my way to Good Morning Texas, I was on Good Morning Texas on Sunday. I got a flat tire. And I was like, okay, Lord, now shoot. If something else go wrong, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because everything that could have possibly went wrong with the launch party, writing this book, all the things that could have went wrong, the enemy just kept throwing it. I mean, back to back. The labor pains were real with pushing out this beautiful baby here. The labor pains were real. The spiritual warfare was and still is real. I said, okay, Lord, well, you're going to figure it out because we got to get there. Okay, we got to get there. Me and my best friend / assistant is there, and she is always the one that's like, we're going to figure it out, Mo. And I'm like, look, I almost can't take no more. We call the roadside assistance people. Well, we don't help people overnight. We can't, because we left right after my launch party. We can't really help people overnight. Okay. But we'll send the police officers. So they send police officers. Now, we literally got out of the car maybe 5 minutes. I pulled the spare out. I got the jack. I got the, what is it called? Y'all know what I'm talking about? That. And I put it all out. Maybe 2 minutes, we heard sirens. And I'm like, surely they ain't coming for us. That was fast. And sirens? That's the ambulance. Like, they ain't coming for us. One officer pulled up. And he said, well, yeah, he said, well, where we are, you're in a bad spot. You're in a traffic spot. So he would have to, the tow truck driver would have to tow us in order for us to just change the tire. He said, but if you scoot up just a little bit closer to the barriers, then you'll be in a space where we can change the tire. The tow truck driver can change the tire. He said, so as long as you are comfortable with it and you don't, I said, I don't want to mess with the rim. But we barely moved and inched up just to where we needed to be. He followed behind me in his lights. 5 minutes later, we hear another siren. It's another cop. So I'm standing behind the car. We're trying to figure out, like, what are we doing? Like, and I'm like, well, I don't know which side to stand on. Should I stand on the left or the right? He said, neither one. Y'all get in the car and put your seatbelt on. Because it's too many people that have died in situations like this. It's 2 a.m. We literally get in the car and put our seatbelts on. And these 2 officers changed my tire. And we were on the road in less than 15 minutes. Literally. They laughed, they joked, we got it. We're here to support you. And I'm sitting here thinking, God, that was only you. Because yes, a flat tire, driving to Dallas, all of the things could have happened. And I made it to Good Morning Texas. But it wasn't just because 2 officers came and changed my tire. It was my mindset while going through the process. It was me still saying, God, you got to fix this. So come on. And I sat back and allowed him to move. And then gave him praise and watched him move throughout the entire process. We have to literally be intentional about recognizing when God is moving in our lives, even in the small things. I would have had to cancel Good Morning Texas if I couldn't get it up. It was in the middle of the night. So even being able to see God steady saying, I got you. Yeah, the enemy tried that too. He tried to get you a flat tire so you wouldn't be able to go. I got you. We're going to get you there. And more things, even after the tire, still happened. But I got on Good Morning Texas. And I was able to really give this a woman, a battle buddy, the opportunity to share her story. That's what the enemy's tried to stop. So keeping my mindset focused and being comfortable with being uncomfortable is where I'm safe. I expect the enemy to come, but I also expect God to show up on my behalf. I expect him to try it. It didn't shock me that we had it. It didn't shock me. It was just like, okay, Lord, come on here. I got to work this out. I'm not gonna stress and be anxious about it. You got to work this out, like you always do. Now I don't know how you're gonna do it. He provided, as he always does. Yes, when the enemy comes in the blood, he was like a standard. So why not fall into his bosom and trust him fully? And even the little things, a flat tire, running out of gas, the little things. I just want to see. He just wants to see. Are you gonna still trust me with this little bitty thing? Because if you can't trust me with this, how you think that you're going to yield and surrender to my will for your life for this big thing? If I'm trying to move and do things in your life, you can't even see that it's me because you won't trust me in the little things. So how are you able to trust me in this big thing that you want me to solve? In this big problem that you want me to answer? I'm done, Toy. I'm done. I'm done, sis. I am done. I appreciate you guys for having me. Thank you so much for sharing my story, listening to my story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. You know I can go, go, go.
That was awesome. I just put like a mint in my mouth. Um,
Okay.
I want you to tell everybody about your cosmetic line and how some of the proceeds go to survivors of domestic violence. I'm gonna put that photo of that back up so people can see it. Let me
So
see.
I started this cosmetics line, as I said, because I struggled. Well, let me, I guess, give the backstory of me not liking the size of my lips affected my self esteem, which I felt like also tied to me being in a domestic violence relationship. And so I know other women have their own insecurities, and so my mindset is if you embrace that insecurity, because it's not going to disappear. I can't take my lips off my face. I probably shrink them or whatever. Why would you do that though? And I went through all of these emotions. And so in my head, just embrace that insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Once we embrace that insecurity, I don't care how many spanks we put on, I don't care how much black we wear. When we take it off, it's gonna be sitting right there. So we might as well embrace it. So I began to put bold colors on my lips to make sure that I embrace that insecurity, and I embrace what I was feeling or what that thing that I thought was the thing that brought me down, the thing that affected me the worst. Even when hearing other people talk about how big they are and how beautiful they are, and it was like, yeah, okay, don't talk about them, I don't like them, I began to embrace the insecurity, which in turn made me feel better about myself as a whole. Because when we embrace them insecurities one by one, the confidence gets there. You begin to get the confidence that you didn't have once before, and you start to operate in a different place. So the reason why I gave back to survivors is not only because I was in the shelter
Mm-hmm.
and was able to every single thing that I possibly needed, the resources that I needed, they were already provided. They have given us clothes and shoes and vouchers for clothes and all of the things. We didn't really need anything. I moved into a transitional living where they paid the rent for a full year. And so
Mm-hmm.
I had income tax money coming. I got back in school so that I can finally finish my business degree because I was in school for forever while I've been in my domestic violence relationship. Um, and I had refund money. And so I had all these things. And so God told me to be intentional about what He gave me. I was intentional about my money and I wanted to create a legacy for my children. I didn't want to work for anybody. However, I did. I worked at Mattel's warehouse and then became a supervisor while being in the shelter and building this business. So the money that I had, I put in building this business. And so I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be able to give back. Well, how can I give back? I benefited from this. I started a company while in the shelter. And so
Yeah.
I want to be able to not only just give back by saying, okay, I'll go volunteer, but I really want to give back in the aspect of money because money operates the shelter. Okay, we can't just think that encouraging words, but they needed support. And so I started with Safe Haven and giving it to them. And then I started my own nonprofit also as well. So it literally is the beauty empowerment aspect of it, and rediscovering your power through lipsticks, through lashes that will be coming out on Black Friday. So I'm excited about it. I am so
Mm-hmm.
excited about it.
Yeah. And I think there's a beauty to that. I think I mean, I said it in the beginning, but the same thing where you could, you're a survivor one, you could have, you could have stayed there and embraced this, this low space and let that define you, right? Like you said, where your thoughts, you said, where you go, where your thoughts go, you go, right? But what you said, listen, I'm in this shelter. Now what? And you chose to say, okay, listen, I'm going to start this business. I'm going to give back the proceeds. And then a part of your story, the part that people use to shame you,
Yeah.
right? You use to, again, beautiful, right? So that's
Yeah.
that, where the person said, just changing it around to like, listen, I'm not going to use this for shame, but I'm going to turn this around and use it for my good and to bless other
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
right? And you did just that, which is a part, which is like you got a story, and then you got stories within the story.
Yes.
I just think that's dope that you took that where that this could have shamed you and tore you down, and you could have lived with that forever. This pain point, you turned it around,
Yeah.
right? For
Yeah.
and God gets the glory out of the whole
Yeah.
situation. So I
Yeah.
think that's beautiful. And
Thank
tell
you.
people a little bit more about Battle Buddies specifically.
So battle buddies came from when I was in a domestic violence shelter. They wanted you to create a safety plan, and when you're creating the safety plan, you have to put people on there who are connected to you, so to speak. That they are somebody that they could possibly reach out to in the event that something happens to you. And so I didn't feel comfortable, or even before that, making sure that you were in a safe space. And so I didn't really feel comfortable doing that because I felt like, well, how am I going to, or who can I possibly put on this safety plan, because he knows all of my abusers. He knows everybody that's connected with me. And so I wanted to be able to create a safe space for women who felt like, listen, this is what I'm going through. I don't really want to talk about all the specifics. I don't want to go back to my family and friends who have hurt me. I'm go back and forth with this relationship because I left 11 times, 11, and went back. So I know the thoughts of, oh, she leaving again. Ugh, she gonna leave again. I'm tired of that. So I wanted people that actually understood what it's like to be in a domestic violence relationship and want to go back, and scared to be by yourself, or whatever it is that makes you want to go back, even just being threats because of the abuser and just all things that's attached to it. So I wanted people to be able to have advocates and survivors who have actually been through domestic violence and are able to effectively help them stay out of the relationships. So those are our support buddies in the Battle Buddies tribe. And then I have comfort buddies who are licensed therapists, who are life coaches, mental health experts, psychiatrists, all of those things. They are able to help you get to a place where, hey, I may not need any emergency direct assistance, but I just need somebody to help me really process this thing mentally. My mental space is not good. And so a favorite buddy are people that are in emergency situations, people that are needing housing or protective orders. I got brain fart. Shelters, just all of the things that are in dire need in emergency services, and we are able to connect them with somebody that is able to get them to safety. We also build safety plans if they are in the relationship, wanting to leave the relationship, have already left the relationship, and want to stay out. We help them build safety plans so that they're able to effectively stay out of that relationship. And then if and within that safety plan, there's a code word. And so if you send your code word to your support buddy, and we immediately know, number one, you don't send this code word unless it's literally emergency situations, we're coming for you. And so you send this code word, and we are able to dispatch whoever is needed in that particular situation out to you, and get you the support that you need. No questions asked, no drama, no, are you really going to leave this time? No, all of that. But we're here to support you, not judge you, and just be there to encourage you at the same time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I love this. No, I love it. I love the fact that you gave this statistic. 1 in 4 women have experienced or will experience domestic violence. And I say that, I like giving the stats so people know that it's more common than we think. Right. And so that means that, and this is the way I say to people when I do presentations, that means that when you go to the grocery store and you in the line, you're not the only one in that line.
Yeah.
You go to work, you're not the only one in the building. And so just having people understand that um, this is more common than we think. And so, yeah, we should speak up, and there is help. And, sometimes that happens when you've been violated, when you've been abused, you feel like it's just you and you're afraid to open up and speak. But this is what Strong Witness is about. If we just speak, we'll know that it's just not us. And that's where help is around.
Yeah.
But see, I wouldn't know that help is out there unless I talk. And then somebody says, about Battle Buddies?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, do you know about, you good sis, or
Yeah.
you know about this cosmetic line? Like, but it comes with sharing and talking. And I think that's the beauty of you sharing this story, people hearing it, sending this message, and now they know there's going to be help.
Yeah. And that's why I've tried to focus my attention on making sure that I'm on the news as much as possible. Not for a show or for anything. I want people to know that we're out there. Like, it's somebody out there, because there's so many people who have experienced it and who suffer in silence. I didn't want to just the website or the social media. Like, put me in front of some people that can actually provoke change. People put me in with some the larger audiences so that I can reach them, because this statistics is 1 in 4. We have to be with larger crowds. We have to be around people that can expose us even more. And so I even thought about how can I be able to do this where I kind of feel like I'm the Underground Railroad with domestic violence, because it's literally getting them. The abuser has absolutely no idea who we are. They'll never know who we are.
Yeah.
They'll have no connection. And the way that I disguised it before, at first, was in 2019, I did a Battle Buddies brunch to launch Battle Buddies. And when people came to the experience, we talked about domestic violence. We had allowed people to ask questions. I had a few people on the panel, excuse me, and we just talked about those things. And then it asked them, certain questions. Are you potentially experiencing these things? And so I want to. We also were able to create a place for women. If you felt like you were in that situation, people were there to help you create that safety plan and sign up for this particular service. And the abuser just thinks you're at a brunch, just thinks that you are having a grand time. We've already executed a plan. So when you go back home, you're not even the same woman as you came.
There you go. Yeah. And I love that. And I was just thinking something when you're talking, like even when you said, I love that you do that, right? So because obviously you don't want to say, "Hey, I'm going to this brunch, about domestic violence. So I can get away
Right.
from you." I mean, there is a way that you got to move in secret, so that way you can eventually get free from that situation.
Yeah.
But you also, like, again, gave another point, because we hear a lot when we learn about domestic violence that s- oftentimes the abused person, the victim, it takes a lot for them to leave, right? So like what you just said, listen, I left 11 times. Right. And then sometimes, like you said, okay, I know what people say. Sometimes there is that shame of, okay, they're just gonna, here I go back, who's gonna believe me? What can I say? Do they think it's gonna be different? That's why, again, community is important, to people who fully understand and get it. Because on the outside looking in, we're real quick to throw shade. We're real quick to
Judge.
point the finger, right? Be judgmental. Oh, you're just gonna go right back. And it's easy to say those things, but it's not helpful. So what would you say, just one of the last questions I want to ask you, what would you say to a loved one or a friend on the outside who finds it easy to be judgmental and critique, you know, you say you left 11 times, maybe on the seventh, eighth time, watching their loved one go back. Like what's the best way for that loved one to support?
A few things pop in my head.
Hmm.
First, try to put yourself in their situation. When we go back to the statistics, 1 in 4, which means somebody else that has been in it outside of the person that you're potentially dealing with.
Hmm.
You may have experienced it yourself, your granny, your auntie. Think about other people that have been in that situation as well, and don't try to generalize it as them. A lot of the times, I think we think of it, she's crazy. She's something wrong with her. Why she keep going back? Without making this too spiritual, it is. And a lot of the times we trauma bond and we connect with somebody and we are in codependent relationships. And when you can't break that bond, of course you want to go back. And some people don't understand that part of it. And so I would say, imagine being in a relationship where you are totally in love with someone and all of a sudden you're blindsided and stuck. And then it gets worse and worse and worse. And you reach out to that particular friend and you are that particular friend. If
Hmm.
you are the person that that friend has reached out to and she has consistently come to you and she has consistently poured into you, she trusts you, she needs you. You have to be able to um, give her grace, understand where she's coming from, but be empathetic. Do a little research. What are some things that I can do to take some time? This is her particular, because each situation is different. But this is
Hmm.
her particular situation. She may have kids, she may not have kids. The man may be extremely powerful and rich. He may not have any connections at all to her. The situations may be different. But I would really say just give grace and understand that this could be you. Maybe not in this relationship, maybe in the next relationship, or maybe it was you. And so not just being so judgmental to the space where I don't know why she would do that, because that's not your place to understand. It's not your place to understand why she's in it or why she chooses to go back. Your job is to support her through whatever. If you love her and say that you're her friend
Mm-hmm.
or a family member, your job is just to undergird her and pray and empower her and be there to support her whenever she cries, whenever she calls you. Because that's what I had. I had my friends around me, which is why I was in tears at my launch party, because everybody that actually came to my launch party, that were literally sitting right next to me within arm's length, were there for me throughout my relationship. Each time I said, "I'm okay, I'm going back, y'all. Leave me alone." They supported me, and it may not have been like, "Okay, girl," but it was just like, "Who call me, text me,"
Yeah.
like I really don't know what to do, but I'm not going to judge you, and I'm not going to shun you, and I'm not going to, oh, I can't deal with this because you're just going to keep bidding in it. We allow ourselves and our feelings to come before what the actual person needs. And
Okay.
when we get to a place where we're judgmental, we're putting ourselves in that place.
Mm-hmm.
God is the only judge, which means you can't judge what they're going through or how they're responding to what they're going through. All you can do is give grace and give compassion and put yourself in a situation to think, I could be or could have been or was one in four. So
Okay.
how can I help her?
Yeah.
And if I can't help her, step away from her and give her to somebody that can, because you could possibly do more damage than good.
Yeah, I love that. That's something I say a lot. If you can't help, move out the way.
Get
You know
out
what
the
I'm saying?
way.
Because that's yeah, that's a whole different. I don't want to go off on a
Right,
tangent,
right. Okay.
but I also think, and I was going to say that too. I like the sweatshirt and I like the mug. I peeped at the first time you picked the mug up. I said, okay, she got the Ego Sis
Listen,
mug
I love
too.
tea. Okay, so when I saw this and you warm it up, it
Yeah.
turns white. And I was like, oh, I
Okay.
love this. I'm going to
That's
get me one of
dope.
these. So I have them
Yeah,
on
I
the
saw the
website too.
mug.
So yeah, I love it.
um, but another thing too, I want to mention before we get off. So not just because men and women can both be victims, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also for those that, so a lot of times too, we know the perpetrator and we're silent, and so I think in that case, sometimes we need to step up. There's times where we do need to step up
Yeah.
and confront our loved one. If our loved one or friend or somebody we
Come
know
on.
is the perpetrator, we can't just let that happen and be like, oh, that's them, let's mind our business.
They've
And
been
so I
like
think there's
that.
both ways. Like, yeah, we can show grace to somebody who's not ready, but
Yeah.
be present. If I can't help, let me get them the number to battle buddies. Let
Right.
me get them this book, or well, they can't bring the book in the house probably, but you know what I mean, find a way to help them and best support. But on the flip side, if you know the perpetrator and you know that this is what they're doing, no, there's something we gotta speak up and say some things,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Because
know.
it's your job to do so if you say you love that person.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean just I'm gonna get in their business, but it
Mm-hmm.
just means I want to show you that I love you by
Yeah.
doing whatever is necessary to help you, not putting myself first. And that
Mm-hmm.
is so true. That's why I said his family was everybody that was surrounded, especially because I suffered in silence for the majority of the relationship. Well, my family didn't even know, not just the depths. They didn't even, because he was, let me say this too. And when you brought it up, it made me think of it. I was not in the typical, if that's even the right word, domestic violence relationship. Uh, the guy that I was with, we met at 14 and 15 years old. His mom was being abused by his father. My stepfather was abusing my mother. And so we trauma bonded and we swore up and down and we would never do this. We would never be in an abusive relationship. We're going to have all the babies and it's just going to be great. I even had a dream about our wedding, y'all, in like the ninth, 10th grade. And so we had this idea in our head of what we wanted and we didn't want differently, even though we heard sometimes arguing, we heard the fights, we heard the back and forth. So the
Mm-hmm.
learned behavior. And so I remember literally being in this relationship with him and experiencing the very first time where he threw a chair. Was it a chair? He threw something at the door, and it pierced a huge hole in the closet door, and it triggered me. And it was just like, whew, okay. Now we're not doing this. We said we weren't doing this. Didn't know what to do though. We talked about it. We cried about it. Those are plenty of times where we talked about it. We cried together. We don't want to do this. But we didn't have the actual tools and didn't take the necessary steps to stop hurting each other. So there
Mm-hmm.
were times where he would say something to me and I would be triggered and I'm angry. No, I was not the aggressive one. However, there were some things where I sometimes provoked him because I was verbally abused. I verbally abused. I was physically abused. I'm gonna react. I'm the one. I was the one that, and you probably can just tell that from my personality. I wasn't the one that was kind of just gonna curl up and let you beat me because I was tired of being abused even as a child. So I'm gonna fight you back. But that enticed him even more. And that made me even more in a dangerous situation because it's like, okay, when you're putting yourself in a situation where you feel like you have to fight your way through. I was really in survival mode, not just mentally, but actually in survival mode. So understanding that I had a part too. There's some accountability pieces that I had to have too. And I talk about that in the book. I cannot, and I will not just say that he was just the only domestic violence. I was in a domestic violence relationship, but I didn't have a role in it because I have to unlearn some stuff too and hold myself accountable for the roles that I played in a domestic violence relationship. Because if I don't, my daughters will do it. If I don't hold myself accountable and address those behaviors and recognize them, my 4 daughters, 1 and 4, could possibly go to it. And over my dead body, will they be a statistic? And so that accountability piece, whether it's yourself or your family member that you know, oh well, yeah, this is their girlfriend. He always do that. Come on, y'all know this, and this that ain't my business. Well, dog, if it was you, would it be their business? Would it be their business then? If you were in that situation, would you want somebody to say that's my business and I'm gonna help you?
Yeah, and that's the part I'm talking about. Like not, and I'm so glad you said that because that's what happened. Oh, that's what he does, or oh, he just being him, or
That's just
she's just
him.
being her.
His
And
daddy was like that too.
if you don't know what to do, and it's not safe,
Yeah.
that's why you can call a place like Battle Buddies, or you have resources that people you can call to see, okay, what can I do to help this situation? You know what I mean? Or because a lot of times somebody, if you go up to them, get some counseling, stop it. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It's not going to work. But I just don't think that we should sit by and be um, passive and dismissive. You know what I mean? Especially if we know the perpetrator and this is repeated behavior. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah, I'm glad you made that point. So thank you
Yeah.
for saying
Yeah.
that. Um, and if where can people find your book at before we do hop off?
So they can find it on the BLR Cosmetics website. They can go directly there. If you purchase it from the BLR website, you will get an autographed copy with also a little special note on the inside of it. And then they can also go on Amazon and download it as well. It will be in Barnes and Nobles. It may be already in Barnes and Nobles, but I know for sure it will be in Barnes and Nobles for sure next week.
Okay. So on the website directly, Amazon, and next week, if they want to wait, keep them in suspense till next week, it's going to
Yes,
be in Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and
But
Nobles.
basically anywhere you purchase a book,
Anywhere.
and especially on the website, you can go there and get it. Remember BLR Cosmetics, the website's right up there. If you purchase any of the lipstick, the lip gloss, a portion of the proceeds go to helping survivors of domestic violence.
Anything off of the website, including the book, goes
Okay.
to surviving
Including
survivors.
the sweatshirt, including the
Yep.
mug, including the
The
book.
mug. It's a
Yeah.
t-shirt on there. Yeah, it's a
Uh-huh.
lot of you good sis stuff on there. So go ahead and get all your merch.
That's awesome. Any words you want to leave anybody with before we hop on? I think I love, like I said, I love your story. I love just the fact that um your transparency, like you said, your vulnerability, transparency. And even in saying that, listen, I left 11 times. But when you got out, right, you didn't stay with the role of this hanging over your head. I'm a victim. This is how I'm going to live for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
right? You chose a different route, a different story. I'm going to take what was going to be used, the enemy wanted to shame me with, to turn it around and build off that thing. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what you're doing now. Like, you are actively doing it.
Yeah.
And so I definitely like just praise you. I think your testimony is awesome. I think you're doing a great work. But if there's any words you want to leave somebody with, those watching now, those watching later, those this is going to be shared with who may be living this right now. And even those, this is what I found in my work too as a therapist, people who come out of the situation and don't want to touch it, still want to keep that tucked away and not deal with it.
Yeah.
So I just said a whole lot, but whatever you want to say. Like,
Well,
let me
I
know.
think that last part too was key because when we come out of it, but we don't deal with it, we're not out of it. We're still in it.
Ooh,
Because
that's good.
you come out of it, but you're not out of it. Because if you don't ever deal with it, it's just masked and covered up. And so that's where you good sis really comes in because it says, are you good? It makes you dig deep and process those things. No, I'm not good because I smelled this particular fragrance. This song triggered me, and I thought about him, and I thought about this, and then I went into this whirlwind of thoughts of what could have been, should have been, would have been in that relationship. So even that particular thing that you said is important because we think that we're out of it. We think that, oh, it's okay. I'm out of it. I'm done with him, girl. And now I'm in another marriage and everything is great. But what you bring into that other marriage? Did you get some healing before you walked into the other marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
you are still you. And so you had to learn, you unfortunately, whether you were the aggressor or the victim or both, you got some unlearned traits that you
Mm-hmm.
carried into the relationship, especially if you didn't deal with them. We have to understand that we have to dig up that stuff. Okay, we don't like to dig. We don't like to dig. It's uncomfortable. We don't like to sit in the emotions, but unfortunately, we do.
Mm-hmm.
And we cannot just say, okay, "I'm done with him. I'm so glad I left him," and we happily ever after, and you bleeding all over this man, probably and potentially a man that has never been in any domestic violence relationship, has never experienced abuse, and now you become the abuser. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why we really cannot even get to a place where we say, I ain't gonna deal with it, child. I'm over it, you know. And then when you
Yeah.
start seeing those triggers and you start feeling those triggers, and it's like, oh well, yeah, but that's just because of this. But it literally makes you asking yourself, you good sis, literally makes you ask yourself or get the idea in your head of how am I operating today?
Mm-hmm.
Am I operating from a place of hurt, from anger? Is something continuing to trigger me? And if it's triggering me, what is triggering me? Because triggers are not necessarily a bad thing. Triggers are sometimes things that can bring out things out of you that you just need to address, and you handle them and you move forward. There
Okay.
also can be just reminding. Now, there's some bad triggers. You know,
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
some things that can trigger you to a negative space.
Mm-hmm.
But when you are triggered, just in general, sometimes you're able to ask yourself, okay, why am I triggered?
Yeah.
Why
It's
is
kind of
this
like an
triggering?
alert, let you know something's going on
more
there. It needs your
more
attention.
alert, just to let you
Yeah.
know, okay, well, this bothered me. Okay, so let me
Yeah.
do this. Let me change this behavior when I'm triggered, so that I don't continue to repeat that same behavior. So to the woman that feels like she may not be able to leave the relationship because of the children, because of the money, because of whatever the excuse could possibly be,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have an option not to leave, because we don't know uh, the magnitude of what's going on in the abuser's head. We don't know what they are possibly dealing with. We don't know how bad the situation is, even within your household. And you maybe even masking it or making it seem like it's okay, I'm good, sis, and it's actually really, really bad. And so when you shut people out or choose not to actually receive from other people, it's harder for you to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So give yourself grace. Listen to the people that are around you. If you don't have anybody, as I said earlier, reach out to us. We are definitely here to support you. Reach out to somebody that is in your area that is able to help you through this particular situation. The domestic violence hotline is always available. Suicide hotline is always available. But get the help, even if you're not sure. I think I might be in a domestic. I might he do this, but that's just him. He
Mm-hmm.
fight me and I hit him back.
Yeah.
Like, look at the small things
Mm-hmm.
to make yourself more aware about your current situation, so that you're really able to make a change and make a difference. And if you need help, don't hesitate to reach out. If you feel like you're going to be judged, don't reach out to that person. If you feel like they're going to talk about you or say, girl, you already left, don't call me no more with that, don't call them no more. But there are plenty of people that want to help you.
Mm-hmm.
I am one. There are
That's
plenty of
awesome.
people that want to pour into you, that want to encourage you, that want to motivate you. As long as you are willing to recognize, I got to get out of here, we
Mm-hmm.
got you.
That's awesome. All right, so now you know where to find Monet. We heard her story. Thank you so much for sharing it. You Good Sis is out. It's available at her website. I have it listed up here on Amazon next week, Barnes and Noble. Anywhere you buy a book, get a
Yes.
book. You can get it. Hoodies, t-shirts, mugs on the website. And remember, the lip gloss she has, her cosmetic line, a portion of the proceeds go back to helping survivors. So you need some lip gloss, you need a
And a
hoodie, a
book.
sweatshirt, and a book. Make sure you go to the website and check that out. So thank you so much, Monet, for sharing. Um,
Thank you for having me.
and your handle is Mo Speaks. Mo.
Mo speaks on Mo speaks with a Z on Instagram.
Okay. Mo Speaks with a Z. I think I had that up. Here we go. Speaks. There you go. I'll put that up there on Instagram. So make sure you guys you can follow her, you can connect with her. Boom. The website's right there. So thank you so much, Monet. And if you could stay on here for a
Thank
second,
you.
everybody have a blessed night. Thank you so much for joining this. Make sure you share this with somebody you know that could be blessed by it. Okay. All right. You all have a good night.